Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. I want to thank all of you for listening. Please subscribe if you haven't done it so already. Click on that thumbs up button. And today we're going to talk about what should the Pistons have learned, what takeaways do our Pistons have from the Thunder and Pacers who just completed Game 7 in the NBA Finals. And there's a lot of things that we can compare favorably with our Pistons, and we're going to dive into that. The NBA draft is Wednesday, and of course that's not too exciting for us, except for the fact that so many trades are made just before the draft and during the draft. And so we're going to watch for that Wednesday, and Thursday is when, as of right now, we have the 37th pick, which will be taken on Thursday. That starts at 8 o'clock. And June 30th, free agency starts. That's when other players. So right now, teams can start negotiating with their own free agents, starting as soon as the NBA Finals get over. But June 30th, which is in a week, they can start negotiating with other teams' free agents. So everything's going to bust loose. There's already been 2 huge trades. We're going to talk about the Kevin Durant trade that was just made. But let's talk quickly about the Thunder Pacers series. It was a great series, and it's too bad Halliburton got hurt and popped his Achilles. He went into the game knowing that that could happen. He knew that he had a calf injury, and just like Kevin Durant had happened to him, the calf injury ended up leading into a popped Achilles. So that's going to make things crazy in the East. So now we have Tatum out for the season, Halliburton out for the season, and Damian Lillard out for the season. 3 of the best players in the East, they're all out for the season. So what does that mean for our Pistons? It means our chances are better. But first, I just want to talk about this. So there's some real common threads between the Pistons and the Pacers and the Thunder. So all 3 teams, and the Pistons are a little bit behind them, and obviously, but it shows it's positive for our going forward that we have very similar things. That they have young teams, and we have a young team. So young teams, and I've talked about this before, not so much that young teams win, as much as I've said older teams don't win, and it seems to be more of a trend now than ever that these young teams, there's teams they have to have depth, and so we probably still need to work on our depth some, but the Pacers and the Thunder had lots of depth. They all play defense. Pistons play defense. They all play fast, and the Pistons were one of the top fast-breaking teams in the NBA this last year. So we have all those things in common. Another thing that the Thunder and the Pacers have had is continuity. And so, again, they've changed some players. Like the Pacers got Siakam, and that was a huge addition to their team. And the Thunder, they added Caruso and Hartenstein. And so those were 2 big additions, even though those weren't as big, free agent signings as what Siakam was. But still, they just added around the sides which 2 players that really contributed. They just didn't stand pat, but still there was lots of continuity. And so that's what I have a feeling, that's what Trajan believes, and that's what he's been doing. The Thunder, this has been a 6-year process for Oklahoma City, and their general manager has been patient. They've had all the assets in the world to have traded in and made a big splash and got a big free agent, and they still can do it. They got so many assets, they got so many draft picks, and they got enough young players that they can't re-sign all of them. Isaiah Joe, he's really good. He didn't play last night in Game 7, so that just shows you how deep they are, and they got a lot of guys signed for a while. I will say this, it looks like the Thunder are set up. Stan Presti's got them set up to be a dynasty, but that's just not the way it's been in the NBA. Things do happen. Of course, most teams, they got this young core. They're 3 guys. They got Shea, obviously, and Chet and Jalen Williams, and those guys are going to all sign extensions this summer, so they're going to have them under control for the next 5 or 6 years, 5 years, and then that is very positive sign for them. Plus, they got all these other players, and if they don't pan out or if they can't re-sign all of them, they got draft picks. And when you get a guy signed in under his rookie deal, they are cheaper. And then even Presti's been really successful drafting guys later, like J Dubs was taken with the 12th pick, and now he's one of the best players in the league. So I will say this, though. We've seen just like the injury to Halliburton, and things could happen. Chet, unfortunately, is injury prone. He's already had two substantial injuries. He missed a whole season already, and it's just the history of the league is that big guys get injured. And Chet is obviously long and skinny, but he was a dominant force in the game last night against the Pacers. Blocked 5 shots. His offense, his 3-point shot has been bad. He's one of these guys, a great stretch 4. I would love to have him on our team. His, just like Cade's shot, his 3-point shot has been off, but it's been very flat. And I mean, I'm sure he'll work on that and getting it up. If something happened to Shea, so they got this balanced team, they say, but Shea's very dominant. He dominates the ball, I think, sometimes too much. As great as he is, and he deserved to be the league MVP. He deserved to be Finals MVP. He's one of only 4 players that won. And you've heard this over and over again. That's won the regular season MVP, the regular season scoring title, the Finals MVP, and won the championship. And it's just been Michael Jordan 4 times, and then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or he did it when he was Lou Alcindor, and Shaq, and then now Shea. So, I mean, it can't take anything away from the dude, but like last night, for example, he was 8 for 27, and he was great. He scored 29 points, and he had 12 assists, which was really huge. But he was 2 for 12 on threes, and we get after Cade for shooting the 3 bad, but he was 2 for 12. Shea was 2 for 12, and there's been other players that have been bad in the playoffs. Halliburton's had a lot of bad 3-point shooting games. Unfortunately, last night he was 3 for 4 in the first 7 minutes of the game, hit 3 threes, and usually if he gets off to a good start, he has remarkable games, and then he popped that Achilles, and so that was just too bad. But that will be having huge ramifications for next season. One little side tip I'd like to say that I haven't heard people make too big of a deal. They talked about him being from Canada, but Jalen Williams and Nembhard and Dort and Mathurin, they're all from Canada. So shout out to Canada. They had 4 important players in the NBA Finals. So I thought the Oklahoma City got a little bit lucky. They within 7 minutes the first 7 minutes, and that's when Halliburton went down, and then it was a 1-point game. Nembhard hit a 3 at the buzzer at halftime, and they were up by 1. The Pacers were up by 1 at halftime, but then OKC came out. They hit 4 out of 8 threes. They had a couple lucky ones. I thought that Dort had one at the end of the shot clock that from way deep, and it hit the rim and bounced way up high and went in. And then J Dub hit a 3 that got a really nice favorable bounce. But they're great. Their defense is great. They're historically great. They won the 3rd most games. They won the 84 games, counting regular season and playoffs together. And I think that's like the 3rd most in NBA history. So, I'm not taking anything away from them. But like I said, the draft's coming, and so many trades are made. I don't think there's any bigger night that more trades are made than on draft night. And that's just not for draft picks, but typically they're usually included to some degree. And like I said, free agency's right around the corner, and it's just going to be amazing what's going to happen. Everybody, again, the league executives and the insiders all think there's going to be a lot of action. And like I said, we've already had the big Desmond Bane trade, and now Kevin Durant trade that was just made just before the finals. And the Rockets, we could try to make it swing for a big move like Durant, but we don't have the assets. The Rockets had far more assets. They had more things to trade away when they began their rebuild than we did. I felt like we got some really great players, but they ended up there was a lot of debate with Jalen Green. They traded Jalen Green and Dylan the Villain, Dylan Brooks, and the 10th pick in the draft on Wednesday, and then 5 second-round picks to get Kevin Durant, who's going to be 37 pretty soon. But Green is one of the most talented players in the league. There's a lot about his game I don't like. He doesn't care that much for defense. He doesn't pass the ball good. They even benched him during games during the season and even during the playoffs. And he had a lot of games where he scored 12 points or less in the playoffs when they really needed somebody to score. But now they have Durant to score. But they traded, Dylan Brooks he's over 30. I don't like him. He's a dirty player. He's really dirty. He's not just, Stu's physical and aggressive and doesn't back down, but he's not doing this chippy, dirty crap all the time like Dylan Brooks. But anyway, he gets quite a bit of salary. He thinks he's better than what he is, so he likes to shoot sometimes when he shouldn't. And then so does Green. And so they got rid of two of the guys. They got to keep everybody they wanted. Those are the two guys that they probably least liked on their roster. Not saying they're the two least talented players on their roster, but that they didn't like it. So they have so much depth with Jabari Smith Jr. and Tari Eason and Reed Shepard and, of course, Amen Thompson. And they just got a lot of good guys. And now they got Kevin Durant, who even the last 3 years, he's averaged over 25 points, shot over 50% from the field, and the Rockets were terrible shooting. They shot 37% on mid-range shots, and he shoots over 50%. And he shoots over 40% on threes. But I'm going to quit talking about the Rockets, and I need to start talking about again more about the Thunder and the Pacers and how they relate to the Pistons. And I just think that we are in a real good place, and I think that it's real exciting now that, nobody wants those guys to get injured, but it sure does open things up. I'm going to repeat myself. The Pistons need to make a significant move. And but now going into next year, the odds are for the teams to make the Eastern Conference teams, the odds makers are projecting to make it to the Eastern Conference, to the NBA Finals, to win the East playoffs. Cavs are number one, which people sleep on the Cavs. I think this is accurate. The Cavs should be the favorites to make it to the finals in the East, even though they were disappointing last year in the playoffs. But they're plus 270. The Knicks are plus 300. And the Magic took a huge leap. They're plus 440. The Celtics are, and that's because of the Bane trade. Celtics are plus 475, just behind them. So they're going to be good. Celtics are going to be good. They're going to be really good. So you can't even, they lost a great player, but they still got a lot of talent. The 76ers, which is a really hard one for the odds makers to gauge because of Embiid always being hurt. But if everybody were healthy with Maxey and all the guys, Paul George, they have back, and they're going to have they got the number 3 pick in the upcoming draft if they don't trade it. And so they're plus 1,100. The Pacers, the Pacers would be number 1. The Pacers would be favored to make it, but with, Halliburton was certainly the motor that drove the engine, the car or whatever the engine. But now they're only plus 1,500, and the Pistons are behind them with plus 1,900. So, and the Bucks are behind us, even with Giannis. They're plus 2,200. So that is just, really fascinating. But there is, there's comparisons between the Pistons and the Pacers, and how the Pacers just gradually got better and better and better and started winning more and more games over the last 6 years. And the Pistons, we kind of took a giant jump this last year, but also very interesting in the parallels with Shea and Cade. Shea started out, his first year, he scored 60 points a game. Cade scored 17.4. Second year, 21 points a game, and Cade scored 20. Third year, Shea scored 24. Cade scored 22. And then it went to 31, and Cade scored 26. And so Cade did these, at same ages, and he took the same progressions. Of course, Cade gets significantly more assists and more rebounds than Shea. So that's another thing. Shea, like I said last night, Shea started out really well. At the end of the game, I thought he was just hoisting up some shots. But anyway, there's definitely parallels, and I think that's bodes well for our Pistons. Daniel Gafford just signed a deal. And why is that significant? He signed a 3-year extension for $60 million. So, that's only $20 million a year. So then again, that, it's really difficult. We're going to have an episode coming up really soon about Durant and Ivy and their extensions. And so, he's getting $20 million a year. And what does that mean for Durant? Is that how do they compare? He's a backup, and Durant's a starter, and Durant's got obviously way more stats, but it's just another thing that we can kind of take a look at. So, um, yeah, it's going to be a fun off season. Hang out into your seats. We're going to find out some stuff real soon, whether it's the Pistons make a deal or don't make a deal. I just still think our biggest trade chips are, if we wanted to make a significant move, it has to be include Tobias, and then Stu, and then Fontecchio, and then we have our 37th our pick in the second round. I think those are our big chips. Not that I want, of course, none of us want Stu to be traded. We'd only want Tobias traded if we thought that he could get a starting four that was younger, and so it's Tobias. He's very attractive, I would think, if you were a playoff team, because that's under in cap trouble, because he's only signed for this upcoming year, and then he's a free agent, and so you lose his money after that. But he obviously can contribute to a playoff team. So teams like Minnesota or the Grizzlies could make that move if they want to help with their finances, but still not sign a guy for a long-term deal like Naz Reid or Aldama. So yeah, let's just see what happens here. And I don't spend a lot of time. I love the NBA draft so much. All my life I have been just fascinated by the draft, even when I was way younger. But it's really hard to, a lot of these guys, I put in all kinds of time in the last 5 years studying researching the NBA draft and trying to come up with who I wanted. But not when you pick 37th, there's so many players. There's such a variable, and it's so hard to ever guess who is going to be available and who's not going to be available by that end of that draft. So anyway, thank you for listening. Be the reason that somebody feels cared for, and go Pistons.